So the MCU has been out now for 10 years with it's about 18 or 19 films currently existing. And the question could be asked, which one is best? But I don't trust other people, so I'm going to do it myself. And I have with me my cousin, Daniel.
Oh,
You can say
hell.
hi.
Oh, me. Okay. Hi. Hello.
And my name's Miles, and we will be reviewing every single Marvel film that is out to date, including probably Infinity War when we get to it in 5 months. So to start off, I just want to talk about the first film we will be discussing, which is obviously Iron Man, back from 2008. I wrote 2018 on a piece of paper. That is not right. So Iron Man was first released May 2nd, 2018, with a budget of $140 million. It did not have 140 billion. It was directed by Jon Favreau, made a box office of 585 million, not billion. And was written by Mark Fergus, I think that says Hawk Ostby, Art Markham, and Matt Holloway. And our views and opinions do not reflect poorly on these people. We're looking at the product, not putting blame in any certain location. Is that a good way of saying that?
I guess. I don't know. I'm not judging anything except for the film.
We're judging the film, not the
Why would
people.
Why would I say, "Oh, this director is
blame,
terrible"?
Hawk Ostby for all of this.
So
That's how it's gonna go. So we've got a set system that we're gonna use for all of it, but I'd like to first of all talk about watching this film. Our first time, I guess with other films it might be more than just the first time. So I first saw Iron Man December 31st, possibly January 1st, 2008/2009. It had come out that summer, or May, so technically start of summer, and it was a huge hit. Absolutely, all my friends, Daniel hadn't seen it, but multiples of my friends had seen this film, loved it, didn't know who the character was, and that felt good because my dad, just a year or two before, I asked him who his favorite superhero was, and he told me Iron Man, and I stared blankly at his face, and I think I probably said, "Oh, that's cool," but what I meant to say was, "Who's that?" Because at that point, I didn't even realize I had read about Iron Man in a comic book. I actually had read one when I reread the first Spider-Man special later. So anyway, watched it for the first time. There are multiple scenes from this movie that have directly inspired me to go towards film, looking at it more from just a entertainment perspective and more into a desire to work in that field perspective. The second time I watched it was the following few years, however long it was before Iron Man 2 came out. That December 31st, we watched Iron Man once again because Daniel hadn't yet to see it.
yes, I hadn't seen it. I honestly don't remember. He remembers way more than I do. I do remember that it was my favorite movie for quite a while.
That you only saw once.
Yeah, I only saw it once, but that doesn't mean I didn't like it. That just means
Oh,
I
a little bit.
I
You're respecting more than me.
well, yeah. I lost my train of thought. Where was I?
It was your favorite movie for a while.
It was my favorite movie for a while because it just the thought that I don't know, the science behind it looked so amazing to me as well, like a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, something like that.
By that point, but yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, the whole atmosphere of this like realistic superhero setting, and it wasn't like, oh, brooding, I'm Batman. It was this sort of like fun action, fun situation, all of that.
Well, as fun as being abducted by terrorists can
Oh
be.
yeah, as fun as
But
that. um, so those were our first times. This time rewatching it, this time was my third time watching it. Daniel's second. I think I enjoyed it more the first time I watched it than any of the other times, because it was fresh, it was new. But I absolutely enjoyed it. Especially we had just seen Infinity War, I think that weekend.
yeah, we saw Infinity War the week before we started watching it.
So like to think that this whole story is led from this one film was an incredible experience.
And the filmmakers didn't even know
Yeah.
where they were going. They had no real future plan.
And
Well,
that-
they probably did, but not
they had ideas, but like
no set plan that would
the set
span.
we'll talk about the set plan
10 years.
in another podcast. Because the set plan included Black Panther far earlier in the timeline and Power Pack. Do you know who Power Pack is?
I do not.
It's this group of 4 siblings who all have superpowers.
Okay. I mean,
They're children.
yeah, I got
Children
it.
with superpowers. They wanted to make that the film.
I mean, it could work. It just depends on
Runaways was also
what
on the
they did.
table, and they actually just made that as a Hulu exclusive.
Oh.
So maybe someday we will see Power Pack. So we have set up this system. There'll be 50 points in total, 5 points possible for each of these 10 categories. And these categories are ones that I came up with because they are important to me when I am watching a film. They are plot, pace, protagonist, side characters, villain, and then some more specific ones for the Marvel movies, which are CGI, action, the humor, which is a very important aspect, the music, and the theme or message of the film in general. So why don't we get started with the plot of this movie? Obviously, the story is about Tony Stark, who is a billionaire playboy philanthropist, which that quote would not come out for another 4 years, but I'm going to use it anyway. Who gets his life turned around when he gets captured by terrorists and gets shrapnel close to his heart, but he uses a machine.
Well, at first it was a car battery.
It was a car battery. Yeah, it's a car battery. I love the idea that someone just like is hooked up to, like, you get up in the morning, you walk outside, and somebody's hooked up to your Honda, and you're just like, excuse me? Oh, sorry, no, I need this to live. I'm gonna take this now.
Oh, that would be
That would be a situation.
that would be an interesting situation. That would be
let's make that movie.
yeah. Let's do that.
No.
That first film.
First film.
Yep.
It connects to the story down the road. Car lot. Infinity car lot. No. We're going on a tangent now. So Tony makes this thing which lets him power a suit of armor that he uses to escape and then go out to rid the world of weapons, but not really his own weapons. But then he makes the weapon in order to fight the terrorists,
But he's the one controlling the weapon at this point,
so it's not somebody else
different.
using his name. Yeah, we'll get to that more with the message of the film. For it, we put it at a 3 because that's right in the center. 0 is only given to something that does it horribly. This film has no zeros. There's no horrible aspect of this movie. Because the plot is rather mundane in comparison. We have the title of 3. We call it apt. Like it fits. It's what it needs to be. It's what's there. It's not out of this world. Like, oh, that's a really interesting idea or anything. It based itself off the comics. It worked well. I think out of all of them, it's probably the most related to the comics. I think there was a run about the same time that did like this story almost exactly.
Oh yeah, background.
Sure.
I have no real connection to the comics, so
yeah,
I am not set on what the comics say. I don't know anything really. So Whenever I'm talking,
I'm not sure
sort of is.
about the arc reactor in his chest. I never read that old of Iron Man comics, even now. Um, but I do know like the character of Ironmonger and all of that. Not gonna not gonna go into the comics of that, but it's kind of funny in my opinion. But you know, like, I feel like it very much based itself, in comparison. Maybe Captain America was a far different from the comics actually. Like I think comparatively to all the other films, it's the most based in the comics world. Maybe Hulk might be a little bit more. We'll be watching that later today possibly. But yeah, no, it just fits what it needs to do. It gets a 3. Because that's what it needs to be. Pacing. So this is important to me, because I never want to be sitting watching a film and go, I would rather be doing something else right now.
Yep, something else should be happening. I shouldn't be thinking about 15 other things. I should be focused on the movie. Nothing else.
Yeah. So like when the action scenes go on for too long and you're like, okay.
All right, we've seen someone get let's see, what do I use?
Flipped over.
Axe kicked 3 times.
We've seen this.
Good.
We've seen pretty much as this as we need to right now. And also you don't want to be sitting there like, oh, they're talking.
Yeah.
They're talking. Or
Yay,
like,
information.
landscape shot, stuff like that.
Wow, it's beautiful, but
Wow, it's
what is actually happening?
So I think this movie did pretty well. I think we gave it a 4.
Was it a 4 or
I think
3?
it's 4.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
3.
No, 3. Why did we give it a 3? There was something about the pacing. Oh, so there's 2 moments.
Oh, right.
There's the terrorist scene, the him taking out the terrorists, or
The return.
yeah,
right.
His return to the place he was captured.
Gulmira, right?
Gomira, yeah. Nicely done. Remember that. Is right back to back with him in the jet thing, and I found myself sitting there going, well, I would like this moment to kind of like push the plot a little further. I mean, the Gomira scene did, but the jet thing, which was cool. I mean, I absolutely love the scene, but I think there should have been a little bit of downtime between the two. Something going on, something to maybe put something to do for Stain, give him a little bit more.
That would have
solo.
been, but also it did technically move the plot along in terms of it let Rhodey know that he was Iron Man. So
that's true.
I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking
it did that, but like they could have done it. Like, I mean, the scene itself is fine.
True. They could have put a break there and done something else.
It could have been like, oh, he's flying over the ocean, they see him, or he's flying over somewhere in California and they see him, something like that. It didn't have to be right at that location. Like you're in the air. Your set piece is your scene is in the sky. It doesn't have to be over in the desert. Put something there, and then the weird pacing of the ending. And there's the phone. We're gonna pause there and maybe have better audio quality when we come back. All right, so we're back. Phone is done, and so we're about ready to talk about the ending, I think. And the ending just feels weird because there's almost like Pepper shows up to the place in order to steal the hack the information, right? And then the action scene kind of happens, and like it almost comes out of nowhere. It feels it's like, oh, she has this information. I have to put on this suit, and so the pacing on that, I feel like you could have had her leave, have like some information come out about him or something, like the board of directors gets mad or something, and then the villain Ironmonger comes like out.
Also, Stain has the knockout device.
Yeah.
Like, okay, she's walking out. She's only like maybe a minute away. If he hurried, he could have caught up to
It's
her
been
and
2
knocked
weeks
her
since we
out.
watched this because stuff
In
happened
theory.
last week. I think.
Right?
Yeah. I think did he?
Because he looked at the computer and realized, and then was like, "Oh gosh, I gotta do something about this."
And then he's just standing above.
He's just
them
standing above.
with Coulson in the suit.
When-
All right, so we'll talk
I
about
don't
that
know.
later. So
I
it
feel like
just
he
feels
could've-
a little bit off. It works very well, but there's just a few moments that make us feel a little like off about it.
Yeah.
Next up is protagonist, which this film does incredibly well.
Yes.
I'm not gonna give it a 5, and we've talked about
We
this.
gave it, a 4, because they built the character so that they could go, well, they could just go further with it, because they, once again, they didn't know where they were going exactly, what their plan was. So they definitely made it so he was open enough to have more plot, but they also gave enough information that you felt like you could connect to him. So.
Yeah. No, I mean his character in this film is great. I think it's because we have seen him in those other situations, like with Nick Fury in Iron Man 2, or with the rest of the Avengers in all the Avengers films and such, where he has such, it feels like more depth.
Exactly.
Because there's like this difference between these people. Whereas in this film, you mostly see that via Pepper, who we'll get to in the next section, and so you just don't see as much of who Tony Stark is. I mean, you get you know who the old Tony Stark is. Like that is very obvious. But after he's like a changed man after the whole incident, then
his opinions have changed. You know that, but what are his opinions?
What are his opinions? What is he going to do with the armor? Is he just going to fight terrorists? Is he just going to do, whatever? You don't really know. It's very confusing, like where he sees his future going, and that makes it a little bit harder to relate. But that's not much. Like for the confines of this film, he's perfect.
Yeah.
So that's why we gave it a 4. Side characters is a 2 because I only like 2 of them. So we've decided that there's about 4 side characters in this film. So let's go through each of them individually. Rhodey is absolutely great. There's that rewatching it. He had that where he's like next time when he sees like the silver armor.
Oh yeah.
Right, leading up to War Machine. But at the same time, there's like this music cue that came with it that was like kind of cool, like this rock melody. And then I don't remember that rock melody being in Iron Man 2.
It probably wasn't.
I don't think any of the music carried over. Oh, we'll get to music in a little bit. But Rhodey is one of his best friends. His military person he talks to
keeps him under reins a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like he tries. Not so much. Actually doing it, but his character. There was a deleted scene that I really liked where he's told you shouldn't go back to look for him again. He's probably dead, and then he's like, I don't care. I'm going after him. So maybe I like him a little bit more because of that scene. Obviously, this is a different actor than any of the other films.
Yes.
He got placed by Don Cheadle. This was what's his name?
I forget his name.
And I'm gonna hate myself because I know his name.
Let's look it up.
I'm looking it up because I do not want to say, because I'm gonna say the wrong actor and I'm gonna be like, no. Howard. His first name's Howard, I think. But it's not Stern because I almost said Stern. I'm like, that's not the right person.
No.
Howard. Terrence. Wait. Here we go. Terrence Howard. There we go.
Well, you had Howard
Terrence
somewhere.
Howard. I got it.
You were closer than I was.
He did a great job. I actually kind of prefer him to Don Cheadle. Cheadle? How do you say that? I feel bad now.
I don't know. It all depends.
Yeah. I feel like there was a closer age. I felt like they were closer age.
Meanwhile, the
newer actor
seems older.
I was so confused in Iron Man 2. Because we watched it back to back. Because my first time watching Iron Man 2 was right after Iron Man 1.
And we were like, who is this?
And they're in the courtroom and they're just talking to him. And I'm like, who are you? Who are you? And then finally, I figured it out. Okay, I was 13 probably at the time. So
Yeah.
like, as a kid, I didn't get, or I didn't understand. Oh, actors change. Like
Yeah.
if they can't keep the contract, then they got to change the actors. So, but for this film, he was a funny character. They played him as the straight man, Tony Stark's comedic personality. I thought he was probably the best of the side characters. So let's go to the next best of the side characters.
I'm assuming you mean Coulson.
Yes, I do.
Because if you
I
don't
do
mean Coulson, there's a
Coulson,
problem.
the first scene he's in, he is in this giant suit that is way too big for him.
Now, I wonder if they wanted it that way.
I don't think
Or if
so.
they just
I think he showed up.
had that.
I like watched someday. I actually talked to him, and he's like, "No, that's just a suit. That's how we wore him back in 2008." No, because he looked fine in later scenes. I think he showed up that day for the thing, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't get your size. We thought you were gonna be a bigger guy. So."
Oop.
Oh,
I did not mean to bump that.
This
Sorry.
is professional. Yeah, so like he showed up, bigger guy, and just like damn, just
Okay,
hitting
never
him,
mind.
like-
I'm not going to try to change anything.
So yeah. But and what makes it worse is he's standing next to Gwyneth Paltrow, who's already I think taller than him.
Yes, I
and
believe
she's
she
wearing
is.
heels.
So,
And so she's way taller than him. So he looks like this little kid with a receding hairline. like
Ugh.
Robin Williams in that movie where he like Jack or whatever it's called, where he like just ages. I don't remember the name of the movie.
I know what you're talking about.
Where
but I don't remember.
like they age too quickly,
Yes.
but like you still get. That's kind of what I thought rewatching this film. So I found that funny. And then but his scenes were good. Playing on the pun was kind of funny, but now in universe, like that they've called it Shield from the beginning.
Yeah.
It doesn't make as much sense after like watching like Agent Carter, the one off.
Never finished that. Started to.
No. I'm talking about the one shot.
mean.
There was a one shot, which is like or whatever they call it, where it's like a short.
Oh, right. Oh,
and
yeah.
that takes place
I was thinking of the
after the
series.
events of the TV show.
You're right.
Which I enjoyed the TV show. I thought that was the first season was probably better than the second in my opinion, just because the story was more cohesive and the second season went off on a tangent and like I am right now. So his character was hilarious. I remember him from even way back then. Like his character was absolutely fascinating to me. Just because he Clark Gregg, who's the actor, played him so well. I can see exactly why they kept him for everything, for Iron Man 2, for Thor, for the Avengers, and onto Agents of Shield. Like he is such a good actor, such a character. Like the whole like he has this sense of like what's the term I'm looking for? Not responsibility, but like authority. He's like this authority figure, but at the same time he like plays it like, oh, I'm just like your best friend.
The one of the things for me is, well, when I first saw the movie, I didn't know what Shield was. Like I didn't know anything,
Gotcha,
so I
yeah.
was like, "Who? Why do they have this character? Who is he going to be?" And until the very end, the after credit scene where Nick Fury shows
Yeah.
up, I didn't realize that he was actually going to be a character that would be recurring.
Yeah, we should we add an extra column for best after credit scene? No, people online have already done that probably.
Oh, yeah, no,
This is
probably.
about the film itself, not the after credits. But yeah, no. So that's that. The next best, Happy Hogan, who is actually Jon Favreau, the director of this film. I'm fascinated by that. I would love to know more about how that works because I want to direct, but I don't want to act. Not really. He was not in the film as much as I remembered.
No, I don't remember him very much at all.
He had the one line with Tony like near the start where he's like, "Oh, I took this road because you lost me," and then
Yeah.
I think he was in it once again. later.
I
Once,
think.
like I can give you like actual moments from Spider-Man: Homecoming, obviously because that's the more recent one. But I can even give you moments from Iron Man 2 where he was in it, because both mostly with Natasha, but like because like he drove her, and also there was the fight, the whatever form of fighting, boxing or kickboxing that they were doing in the ring. I remember his character from Iron Man 2. I thought he was in more of this film. He was not. But he had this certain charm to him. He's like the lovable, somewhat of an idiot, but like not really. It's more of just in comparison to all these other characters he is. And that's it. That's everything about him.
Yeah.
And then we get to Pepper, who
I think part of the problem with her is she just didn't have too much comedy to actually make her feel like a character.
I think my favorite film she's in with like her part of the film was
Yeah.
Avengers, because I felt the most like actual connection there. Like the chemistry between
Yeah.
Tony and Pepper in the Avengers was phenomenal. Not really gonna go into Infinity War, but in the Iron Man films, I don't really remember Iron Man 3 too well. I don't even remember when I watched it, so that's gonna be a fun thing to talk about.
I know
when we
I
get to
haven't seen it.
You've not
so.
seen it, so we'll watch it. I saw it a while ago. Like I saw it like near the time it came out on DVD. I don't remember where I was or anything like that. Friend's house probably. But her character just never seemed. I mean, she like Iron Man 3. She gets superpowers for a little bit.
I think
Because you've seen it in the
yeah, no, I have.
and stuff.
I've seen that.
So, but even then, she just was not as fascinating to me. Now we'll rewatch them, and I'm not saying whatever because I've not seen the film in a while. But her character, just in the Iron Man films, as far as I remember, especially this one, just did not interest me. She seemed like she came out of nowhere with this fascination with Tony, but they've been together all these years as his personal secretary. But then he's back and
Although,
he's
what is
family
the history?
and-
Like, how long has she
yeah,
been
how
his
long?
secretary? That's the
they
other
said
thing.
it. They said it. I
Did
think.
they?
Yeah, when they first introduced her.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
It,
I think they
remember
did, but
saying
it's
that
like
she had been.
you've been around so many years. You know him better than he knows himself, or something like that. And
Yeah, I just don't remember a time.
I just didn't feel
Although
the
maybe
connection there.
maybe it's because Iron Man or Tony, I should say, started to change.
Yeah,
and she finally saw that and was like,
That's true.
he's
That's
actually
true. There is a change there. Like I love the fact that she's not. Oh, I'm just gonna like settle for you because you're this rich guy or anything like that. Like her thought process, her choices, those make sense to me.
Yeah.
I just didn't care for the acting or the connection between the two. I just didn't feel it in this film. And I know as it goes on, it gets better, probably. But I just didn't feel this film. As such, I didn't feel the side characters were that big a deal in this film.
Not
Even with
really,
how
no.
great these characters were, I didn't feel that invested in them. Especially not Pepper, who they try to make you the most invested in at the very end.
Yeah.
And I just did not. I didn't care. I'm a horrible human being. So we gave this a 2. It's beneath par. I mean, the characters are great, but it's not even apt. Like,
Yeah,
it just does not reach that level. And so now the villain. And we've talked about this a lot, and I think you have a good take on it.
I do?
Yeah.
I'm surprised you think
You've
that.
said some good stuff about it that I hadn't
I don't
thought of.
remember what I've said at this point.
Okay, so
But-
so Obadiah Stane is the villain of this film. I mean, I think the guy's name is Raza, who's the leader of the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
But
something like that.
I mean, he was cool looking, and
But-
like he had these different languages that he spoke, and he got the scar on his head because Tony and him both suck at aiming. This entire movie is just people who can't aim, except
Yes.
for Tony when he uses aimbots.
Part of the story. Any kind of video game always have an aimbot.
Oh, except for aimbot. Yeah, that's how that works. So he's not that interesting. I'm the bad guy. I sent Tony to die, and then he comes back, and I'm mad, and I hate Tony for some reason.
And I want money.
I want money.
I'm.
Oh, isn't that a quote from
am
like
bad
Toy
guy.
Story? Like Mr. Potato Head is like the villain, and like Andy puts like
I don't know.
money inside of him, and he's like, money.
Oh, you're right.
Yes, that is somebody.
That
should
is
do
Obadiah Stane.
That is Obadiah Stane. That is all his character is. There's a
whenever I
great
look at
video.
him,
We
see
just watched it. I've watched it 3 times now by Nando V Movies. Great channel. If you're interested in seeing how to make films better, he does a great job of that. He also does some other stuff, but that's his big majority of his stuff. He does comic book stuff, explaining how to make the films better, or just geek stuff in general. Because I think he did one on Star Wars. And it perfectly describes how to change Obadiah, who is currently a 1 on our list because he exists. He's fine. He serves his purpose, but he's just not interesting.
I'm the stereotypical bad guy who wants money and power. That's all.
Yeah, and rides a Segway.
Yes,
that was so funny. It would change him to a 5. Like, honestly, if they did that, if they had him be like the exact foil to Tony, that would be a 5. So just not a good villain. I feel like a lot of the Marvel movies are gonna get low numbers on that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I can think of a few. We're not going to go into that because that's a whole side tangent, and we'll talk about it later. CGI. I thought this was going to be lower than it was.
Yeah, so did I, especially considering it was 2008.
2008, 10 years ago.
Meanwhile,
stuff from this year, CGI, I
some
cringe
things,
at.
yeah.
Yeah, there's just some CGI is something hard to pull off. It's not easy, because our eyes are, or minds, I guess, but we're able to see like what exists and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But this film, the bad CGI, I can think of a few moments. I have a problem with Iron Man in most films. If he does not have his helmet on, but the suit's on, it looks awful. In this film, it happened once where he's like, it's coming on, but then the helmet like comes up and around, and right as the helmet reaches the top of his head, that was the moment where I was like, hey, this doesn't look as bad anymore. Because normally it looks like, oh, there's a head with a green screen beneath him.
Yes.
That's what it normally looks like. But as soon as something came above his head, I think it's just because, like, you can see, like, that split, but if there's something there to, like, kind of
block it,
make it, like, connect it, like,
yeah.
like it's all one piece, that works. But, like, Civil War and even some moments in Infinity War, Iron Man or those wearing Iron Man-like armor do not look good.
No,
when the head is there with the body beneath, it does not look good.
As soon as I get the helmet on, though,
yeah,
bam,
helmet on, it's fine.
Great.
I'm saying I'm a lot. So change it to up. So the CGI in this film, there's 2 moments. There's one you pointed out, which was the computer.
Is it at the beginning or?
It's like when he's building the Mark II.
Yeah, he's building the Mark II. That's what it
Mark
is.
One.
And his just the holographic images.
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, we don't have that technology now.
No,
really.
we don't have that technology, which is why I think it works, is because it's supposed to be a computer.
Exactly.
So it's fine.
But
Black
just
Panther,
looking at
and Infinity War, when they're in Wakanda, they have such cool looking ones, like the black, like
yeah,
like it looks almost like 3D printed. I don't know. I really like that. But no, this film, that is one moment, and another one, I think it's when he pulls off the flaps in order to fly behind the two jets. Right. It just looks like a ragdoll. It looks like Gary's Mod ragdoll, just like. Whoa. We made movements, but you can't really see those.
That's okay.
So the CGI, I think our vocals... holds up. The vocals. The CGI holds up in this movie. Rewatching it 10 years later, there were a few moments where I was pulled away. I think Ironmonger was a little bit less as clean as Iron Man. I actually kind of prefer the silver armor.
Honest. I do too. Actually, it looks really.
Was like,
it's because it's chrome.
It's like chrome. Yes, it's chrome. That's it. That's the word. It's so cool looking. But that's that. So action.
Did we give this a 3?
We gave this a 4.
Or 4.
Because
right.
But we gave it a 4. It should be a 3. It should be apt. It's what it is.
Yeah.
It's so memorable though.
Yes.
Every single fight scene, which not even just fight scene, action scenes. I remember all of these scenes. I don't normally remember movies from my childhood. Like I remember like parts of them. These are the parts I remember.
Honestly, I think my favorite part of an action scene is when he goes back to Golmyra,
Yeah.
and in the middle of all the fighting, eventually he shoots this tank
Yes.
with
You just walked away.
this really small looking rocket, and it just
Yeah.
absolutely
So
destroys
so
it.
ever since then, in How It Should Have Ended, whenever Robert Downey Jr. is in a movie,
Yeah.
he solves all of his problems by yelling tank missile and shooting one of those things at it. So like Sherlock, because Sherlock Holmes,
Yes, because he
Robert Downey Jr. is Sherlock Holmes in that movie. It's hilarious. I forgot some of that. Like I remember him walking away, but I forgot how small it was. It was like this tiny little thing, and like this giant tank is just
yes.
staring him down.
It's great. I think that's also one of my favorite action scenes because it slows down the action. Like there was some intense, really cool technology stuff, and then all of a sudden, just the huge explosion. Of course, also explosions.
Explosions.
Who's gonna go wrong with that?
Of course. So let's talk about my favorite action scene of this movie, and at the same time, we're going to talk about music, which normally it will come 2 points later, but this is important. So my favorite action scene of this movie is his first flight, where he takes off, like he's like actually flying for the first time. I know you've got your problem with it because the frost, like the icing in the air.
I'll bring that up in a minute.
Okay.
You keep going.
No. Talk about it now.
Okay. All right. The problem I have with it is, okay, Tony learns how to or Tony realizes that his suit's gonna freeze up if he goes too high up in the atmosphere.
And his is
ultimately
put
how he
together better
defeats
than Ironmonger.
Yes, and that's ultimately how he defeats Ironmonger.
Yeah.
The problem I have is nowhere does it ever actually explain how he figures out scientifically to fix this problem. Now, yeah, it's probably something very simple, but
it's the paint.
There's no detail. There's no like, oh, we just added thermal. I don't know, some kind of thermal thing to prevent freezing, something like that.
Yeah.
There's no reference.
For it being such a big plot point to this movie, and it just vanishing from the future ones.
That's
because in
this
Infinity
is
War
at this point,
and it's in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. I guess I technically am if you've not watched the trailers, but he like has his like feet come together and like goes in like a circular like boosting thing.
Yeah.
And like is able to like go at supersonic speeds and like flies up in the atmosphere. Like at that point, if it was his Iron Man armor from this movie, he would have just frosted up and fallen back down to Earth.
So that's really the only complaint I have with that. But other than that, that first flight is definitely one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that makes it so strong is the song from it.
Oh yes, the only song that we remember.
The only song we remember. That's why music is a 1. Somebody made a video on it, I think, where like they talk about music carrying over between the films, the Marvel films, and Iron Man is one of the ones where none of them do. Iron Man 1, 2, and 3 all have different scores.
Yes.
There's no memorability. If you think Iron Man, you're probably more likely to think of the classic cartoon series, which had it's not really a cartoon series, but like it's like the moving comics one, which they had a nice reference to in this. The orchestra played it.
Oh right. You pointed it out to me.
I did point that out because I noticed it for the first time this time. I think Drana, my sister, saw it before, but I noticed it for the first time watching it 2 weeks ago, and then but like besides that, this song's memorable because it's got like this nice like rock.
There is one other song, but it's the credit song.
Oh,
which is literally called Iron Man.
Yeah.
That's the only other one that I can think of that I remember. Mm-hmm. So,
and what was the name of this one? It's like
Riding with the Top Down, I think.
Riding with the Top
Something
Down.
like that.
Yeah, something like that. My first image when I heard that is like a sunroof on Tony's head, just like peeling back. He's like, right.
No, it's so his hair sticks out.
His hair sticks
just
out. Some superheroes have that.
yeah,
Like Kid Flash does
exactly.
that. I mean,
That's what it is.
yeah, that's what it is. Okay. So that's why music gets a 1. It's just not memorable. It doesn't carry over. But there is one good song. If we had no good songs from this, it would get a 0. But there's 1/2.
And that's not to say the background music and like the fight scenes and stuff isn't good. It's
right.
just
It's just not memorable.
There's no real connection to it.
Yeah.
You don't really feel motivated by it.
So let's go back now to humor. We put this at 3, apt, not because the humor in this is bad.
No. It's
Tony's great.
a good baseline for pretty much all of the Marvel universe.
Tony's great. Rhodey, he works off Rhodey well. He works off Happy well in the scenes he does. The scene with Pepper where they're putting in the new reactor is funny.
Something we didn't talk about is the comedy of robots.
Well, we talked about that a little bit.
Not much.
Dummy. That's his name. Dummy Bot. Yeah. That's great.
That adds it up. That actually...
There's a cameo in Homecoming, I think.
Is there? I don't know. Once again, I haven't seen that one either.
I forgot about that.
There are a lot of movies I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, we're going to have fun.
So, I'm going to be missing
How tall
a lot.
is... Wait. I made that comment earlier about Gwyneth Paltrow being tall, and
we'll find out, won't we?
her Google file does not have her height, so I'm not going to look... How tall is Clark Gregg, though? He's 5'9". Oh, he's not short.
He's 5'9". No, not really.
Wearing high heels. Or she's 5'9" plus wearing heels.
And also,
he
his
just
suit
looks short.
His suit also doesn't help.
I'm 5'8". No, I'm 5'10".
I say his suit doesn't help with the fact that he just looks so bulky that
it's so
on the screen he looks short.
Okay.
Sorry, tangent again.
It is kind of the humor though. We're kind of in the humor section.
Coulson has a lot of humor as well.
Oh, Coulson is so funny.
And
I'm not buying
it's not even realizing it sometimes.
I'm not buying this thing that it's that's my bodyguard, because that's what it is in the comics. Tony Stark pretends that Iron Man is his bodyguard, and that was the first comic I read with Iron Man in it. You don't see Tony Stark, you see Iron Man, and Peter Parker makes a reference to, I wonder if Tony Stark knows his bodyguard's here or something like that. It was the first Spider-Man special with the Sinister Six, I believe. Little background info.
Cool stories. Let me think.
So comedy.
What else? Are we on?
We're still kind of on comedy. We're just saying like it's apt. It's the middle ground. It's what it is.
It could be better, but it could be a lot worse.
It could be better. It could be worse. But the reason, I mean, it could. I would say this is like a 4.
Yeah, it's
because
almost
it's really
4.
funny. But the comedy of the other films are so you have no idea watching this film where the comedy is going to go. Like it's gonna get so much better. Like just thinking that like certain jokes in Ant-Man are funnier in themselves than all the jokes in this movie, in my opinion. And then I think Guardians of the Galaxy is gonna.
Guardians is probably
gonna be the funniest of all of them. The first one, I think, is the funniest of all of them. Like that movie, you can just quote all these jokes.
Well, it also helps that there are pop culture references in it too. So
that's true. I can't. I was about ready to make one of the Infinity War jokes, but I can't do it.
Don't do it.
No spoilers. All right. And so that brings us to theme, which there's a ton of, and that's the fault.
Much.
That's the fault of this movie. So it's like, heroes are made. They're built, not born, or something like that. And yeah, sure,
that's part of
fine.
it.
Oh, family's important, and since you don't have any family, then Pepper's your family. That's good.
Okay.
Become a new man. Take responsibility for your name. Like all this stuff exists, but the final fight is not about Tony versus ideology. It's about big giant robot fight. And then not even that. Then it's just
I'm
guy
a bad
can't
guy.
aim.
Man. I'm a bad guy, man. I'm gonna fight you.
Yeah, I definitely watch Nando B movies. Overhauling Obadiah, I believe is what it was called.
Yeah.
It is fantastic. It perfectly shows what would have made Obadiah a 5.
And that would have also made the theme.
And the theme would have been brought up to at least a 4.
At least a 3 or 4.
Yeah, and if they which we have theme at 2.
too.
And if they, I mean, I think there'd be a few more changes they need to make than just that video in order to make the theme work well. But
to have an
closer.
overarching theme would have been
one
important.
singular overarching theme that makes sense for everything.
Because the thing about it is, you can have multiple themes in a movie, but there has to be an overarching theme in order to give it a sense of finality.
Yeah.
In a sense that it actually matters.
Yeah. So, with all that combined, this gives this movie a score of 27, which at first I was like, wow, that's really low.
27 out of 50.
Well, yeah, but it's not 27 out of 50. It's just a score of 27, and then we'll see how that
ranks with everything else.
Yeah.
And by the end of this, we'll have a cohesive list of our opinions.
Our opinion, because this is not a definitive, oh, we're obviously right.
As we have said, everyone's opinion is their own opinion. You can have whatever opinion you want. You can think that this movie is the best, and hey, that's fine.
Yeah,
no problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you enjoy this movie more than say my favorite, which is Captain America: Winter Soldier, that's fine. Like, and if you think outright that it is, that's great. My thing is, I'd like to have a reason.
Yeah.
Like, give me the reason you think it's better. Don't just say, oh, it's better, oh, it's worse. Because that right now, and we might have to do this at some point, the Star Wars movies are ranked in such a way because a lot of it is based off of bias, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with basing your preferences off of bias.
I say we're going to have bias.
We're absolutely going to have biases
soon.
in this, and some of it might have shown in this. But explain why. Like tell me, oh, this is why I like this movie better. Because a lot of the time, like at school or something, I'd hear people arguing about movies, and it was just, oh, this is better, but
why?
not talking about any part of it. It was just like, oh, you think that's stupid. Like I literally heard somebody say,
that's
nearly that.
That also comes with who you're talking to, because some people just don't care about other people's opinion.
That's true.
I like to hear it.
So we did this because we like to talk about opinions. We like to give reasons for our opinions, and we just wanted to rewatch all the movies. Basically,
I say, really, this is the excuse.
This is an excuse, basically. So thank you all so much for listening. I was about to say watching. But
I mean,
we don't really have anything.
Video,
it's probably going to be either. It's probably just going to be a singular image of. Something I don't.
Or
even know
we could flash up like some of the key points that we're talking about, stuff like that.
You're making so much work for me, Daniel. So much work. I
mean, I can help.
Yeah, we'll work on that. So thank you so much for listening. If you made it through the 48 minutes of this,
wow, it does not feel like
it does not feel like it's been that long. Podcasts are long things that we could probably have edited it down if we didn't go on our tangents. But...
Yeah, well, that's part of the fun of any podcast.
That's true.
Tangent.
That's true. So make sure to subscribe. Ignore every other video on this channel because my gaming videos are awful and garbage, and don't watch them.
Except for the one highlight video.
Oh yeah, watch my highlights video of Overwatch. Mine, not Daniel's. Don't watch Daniel's.
Mine was terrible.
No, I'm just kidding. His is good too. But yeah, so we will be posting probably every week. Oh, there it is. All right. We take breaks every time there is a phone going off. And thank you and goodbye.